confusion. I think taking away, you know, something like a focus sash as well would be really, really big.
Yeah, it could be big in this matchup too. Well, this is actually James's first match against.
Vale, os pongo 2 minutos.
That might seem surprising if you're watching the stream, just because it seems like it's been on every other round. But Dandozo actually only in about 15% of the teams in the tournament overall, and then
Ahí
percentage of teams making into day 2. So they're a little over.
El WOLFE creo que es rank 1. Con WOLFE veo su vídeo de vez en cuando. Me parece que tiene un criterio alucinante como jugador. Al otro no lo conozco. Pues vamos a ver. Pero yo voy con James solo por el enfoque del equipo que tiene.
Yeah, it's on everybody's bingo card is the Dandozo match. I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Where Glamour is like kind of hard to pick here, where it's not super good against a lot of these Pokemon. But certainly, Sylveon's not going to have a good time.
Coño, si siendo campeón del mundo, como para no tenerlo en cuenta. Por cierto, estando lo de Llovizna, ¿no juegan Vaporeon o quitaron eso?
Both sides kind of have a bunch of favorable type matchups and a bunch of really unfavorable ones. So there's an interesting rock paper scissors element.
No sé.
And you know, assuming Wolf chooses to bring that Dandozo combo, which I think we're yet to see.
Venga, vamos a ver.
Where a player with that team does not bring both Dandozo and Tatsugiri and stream. Kind of when he gets that out is going to be important, and kind of the positioning to get into that point where you know we've seen a few players send out the combination, have a great time, and a few just kind of like get stomped where they weren't able to set up the game well enough before sending out the combination of Pokemon.
It's definitely not the easiest situation.
Empieza Dondoso, Anihilape, Talonflame y Among Us.
It's going to be Dondozo and Annihilate over on the side of Wolf, and James leading things off with the Amoonguss and the Talonflame. So obviously the Dondozo not partnered up with the Tatsugiri just yet, but it is a pretty easy position to pivot into.
Vale, va a irle directamente ya con envite acuático.
But it's still going to have to be very careful and wants to try and get in that tailwind as well, with the gale wing still active, the Talonflame.
A ver, vas a decidir. A ver, nada, está ahí todavía pensando,
How many of those can it take? Will it be able to keep things going, or maybe could just try and work in the classic Spore?
Yeah, both have a ton of options here with redirection and the threat of
vale, cambia Anihilape
both of these Pokemon that combine, or having neither of them out, and
y mete a Sylveon finalmente, vale. Entonces, le va a aguantar el envite acuático. Muy buena protect ahí. Bueno, tiró de doble protect para ver qué hacía. La season pasada jugué 3 veces con WOLFE, me ganó 2. ¿Cómo se vota? Bueno, creo que ya se acabó Blazer, pero cuando pongo eso, tienes que entrar y creo que es añadiendo los puntitos, no tiene... ¿Dónde estás? ¿En móvil o en PC, Blazer? Vale, ahora sabes que no tiene protect, o sea que ahí le puedes ir ya a reventar, a no ser que vaya a ser cambio, o que tire polvo ira, y va a tirar de bozarrón, ¿no? Vale, cambia Talon. Tauritos, pero es el de agua, tío. Juega el de fuego. Juega el de fuego. Vale, que llevas Talonflame que tienes que compensar, pero juega el de fuego.
We'll go into that slot, and that is definitely not the kind of move that you want to see. Dondozo takes a little chunk in recoil. Sylveon of Hyper Voice, though. That will fall on the Taurus. So, yes, defend yourself from the
Tauros.
But yeah, you're still a fighting.
Te fuiste a dormir. Te fuiste a dormir. Spray bucal.
So becoming more of a threat in the following turn. And Amoonguss does
vale, espora.
So that is going to be
okay, nice.
By putting it to sleep.
Yeah, pretty interesting turn there. Yeah, I was just about to say, the Sylveon, it gets onto the field for free, but it's facing down
el Tauros se fue a dormir la
not a great situation to be in when you're a Pokemon so reliant on that
vamos a ver.
Ability, but catches Taurus in the switch, like it's a great knockout, but Dandozo being asleep is a real problem.
Meta Talonflame de nuevo. Bueno, ahora aprovechando que el Dondozo está dormido, puede por ejemplo limpiar al... Vale, ¿va a meterle protección al Sylveon o que le botó? Que no me fije bien. Vale, el Talonflame, teratipo, volador.
Making sure that those brave birds do way more damage
Vale, creo que va a ir entonces a pájaro osado.
Picking up some of that slack a little bit, making sure that it is able to land a lot of damage. I mean, the Dondozo's asleep. You want to start getting that down. The Brave Bird, though, will head towards that Sylveon, which
muy buena protega ahí,
So not going to get the benefit of that. Dondozo remains asleep, obviously. Still has to take
vale,
mandatory
está dormido.
And then Amoonguss going
Y bola de polen.
So making sure this Talonflame is, you know,
no hay...
be helped out, but I don't think that turn worked quite as James.
No hay efecto.
Yeah, I mean, it's a safe move, right? Where, you know, trying to keep the Talonflame healthy, I think we can deal a lot of damage to a Pokemon that Wolf has selected for this game. So it makes sense where,
ojo que viene el Tatsu. Que viene el Tatsu, gente. Está planteándoselo, Vale, va a meterlo.
Yeah, well, it's still a valid move. Here it comes, it's TATSUGIRI though, so it's time to see the commander ability activate. Of course, the Dondozo is still asleep, but you know, if it wakes up, it's already had one.
Se lo come.
If it wakes up, it could swing.
Y venga.
And you still get the stat boost, right? You know you're going to get.
Me parece muy loco, tío.
If he targeted that TATSUGIRI slot, or what was previously the Sylveon slot, that will miss this turn. So sneaky will move by Wolf if he can get away with it. Let's
see how this one goes. It's going to be another switch. This time the Amoonguss on James's side, leaving the field in place of the Hydreigon.
O le leyó, o sea,
so probably feeling pretty good about that one as Talonflame goes to the Brave Bird, and it is gonna miss. It's gone and hidden inside the Dondozo.
Es que tío, pero es que encima, o sea, el rollo es que al... Sí, es que, ¿sabes la predict loca que le acaba de hacer? Por el hecho de que ahora cambió el... Encima, quitó la Mongoose, que era el que le podía tirar el ataque para bajarle, para quitarle los cambios de características. Y encima, ¿sabes? Le hace... Yo es que... Adiós, Mary Jane. Es que no hay más. Encima se le levantó, tío. ¿Qué va? O sea, saca la Mongoose e intenta botarle una eliminación de cambio de características ahí ya.
So this matchup is a big reason why Focus Energy Hydreigon has become such a popular set. It's definitely not the most common set, but what it's really great for is this particular situation.
Es que es eso, o sea.
Dondozo has that 2 levels of boosted special
Ay, no, hijo de puta, no. Llamero.
Hydreigon will then be able to do normal.
Llamero, como le tira la protección al Dondozo. Vea encima lo que le va a tirar. Y ya se prepara para sí. No. Vale, Draco, Meteoro. Meteo Draco. Espora. Vale, ha intentado dormirlo. Eso sí me ha parecido muy raro, Yo hubiese intentado tirar de bajarle las características, O sea, de eliminarle los cambios. De primera.
There, of course, is the drop to the special attack of the Hydreigon, but it's done exactly what this set is designed to do, getting those monstrous knockouts. And this is the turn he wanted last time, right? Where the TATSUGIRI gets to move. And guess what? Just a fantastic showing of how this Hydreigon really
Hydreigon.
And one of the big threats.
Ese no es Hydreigon.
Removed right away from James. It's now over to the rest.
Yes. Bueno, a ver, con el Sylveon ahora ya gastó la Tera, así que no se va a poder salvar el Hydreigon. Si le clava bozarrón, vuela. Se va a tomar por culo. Va a críticos por eso, sí. Pero impresionante, tío. Se reventó al Dondozo,
The Sylveon could regain its advantage potentially, but both sides playing cautiously for now.
Well, of course, the flying terror used by James earlier, limiting
es culpa del ignorante. Espera.
Hit will land onto the TATSUGIRI, so you know, being able to cause those problems and try.
Cal, me he perdido un poco, o sea, Hydreigon tiene acceso a ignorante.
We always talk about, and so being able to cause problems that way, and Sylveon getting caught with the Spore, but protecting itself. So kind of free damage there, I think, for James. It's safe to say, you know, the Hydreigon just weaving in that
Ah, vale. Es para contrarrestarlo. O sea, no es que tenga acceso a la habilidad ignorante, ¿no? Ni nada de eso. Vale, va enfocado a críticos sencillamente para... Vale, no, joder, no me asusten, gente. Yo ya me está quedando loco, digo, ¿y Dragon en qué momento, tío? Una de las poquitas cosas que no puedes evitar es que te aumente la tasa de críticos, efectivamente. O sea, puedes evitar los cambios de características puras, pero el crítico, como es una probabilidad como tal y no un parámetro plano, te mete el bombazo como te entre. E ignora, obviamente, los buffos de... O sea, no sé si me explico bien, pero creo que me están entendiendo, ¿verdad? Vale, va a tirar la Tera. Tera tipo planta. Esto sí, para mí es rarísimo, el Tera tipo planta. Porque normalmente suelo verlo con el Tera tipo fuego o con el agua. Con el anihilape.
That is coming to the fore, and Annihilape's just going to take out the big threat, the Hydreigon, with the final Gambit. Of course, Annihilape will knock itself out, but the only thing dealing damage over on James's side of the field is now removed from play, so a trade you are very willing to take if you are Wolf.
Yeah, the only attacking move, which I think you gotta put air quotes on, is Pollen Puff for Amoonguss.
Yo me acabo de quedar loco.
Technically a damage dealing move, but primarily used to heal ally Pokemon.
Vale, el TATSUGIRI.
Amoonguss has successfully put all of the Pokemon on Wolf's side of the field to sleep, so we might have a couple of slow turns here, but
en principio...
What if Amoonguss just sneaks in a little focus energy and gets this?
A ver...
Well, TATSUGIRI about done with this.
Vale, se levantó, le metió Josh. Josh, tío. Venga, vamos. Aquí se levanta todo el mundo, venga, vamos. La del sacrificio ha sido la hostia, Nada, se acabó el combate. Historia mesopotámica. Sí, exacto, por Valorant. Pero la verdad que la levantada que se ha metido en el último turno... Joder, cabrón. Madre mía. Ganaba igual, no fue potra. A ver, obviamente con la Z no tenía forma de bajar a los dos como tal. Cualquiera de los dos, desde que se levantara, en un turno o como mucho en dos, lo mataba. Porque obviamente iban a atacar antes que la Z de nuevo. Así que sí, o sea, daba igual por donde fuera la vertiente a partir de ahí. O sea, incluso aunque debilitara a uno, no podía salir. Pero también hay que decir que fue otra lo de levantarse los dos a la vez. Pero no influía en el resultado.
Both sides have some really interesting tools. I incorrectly foreshadowed a little bit, but if we wind up with Hydreigon and Sylveon against each other again, there's a cat and mouse there where they could both flip their type disadvantages on one another. Potentially Dondozo Terastallizing, not like super good in this matchup, but potentially flips the matchup with it and Amoonguss. And then as we saw, the Annihilape kind of looked like a throw-in the previous games that we saw with this Dondozo team, where you didn't really do that much. But that Terra-type made a huge difference there, right? Where I think on James' side of the field, even though winding with Hydreigon versus Sylveon is a different creative way to lose the game. Typically you want to rage powder that away from your.
Con otro move pool puede, pero concretamente con bola de polen no. ¿Con qué ataques crees que hubiese podido pasar, Kals?
That anything can be your favorite grass type now if you want to. It's something we've struggled with for a little while. If you're James, we do have to look at this.
¿Qué es esto? ¿Pokémon Go? Hola, Yes, ¿qué tal? No. Estamos viendo el top 8 del regional de San Diego de VGS, del formato oficial competitivo de Pokémon Escarlata y Púrpura.
not. That was not the time for it. And Wolf made that fantastic play where he just really covers and calls for it and says, you know what, I think at some point, like, it's going to come in. I'd like to wave crash your Talonflame, please, but if you do try and do the cheeky switch to your water type and get the Intimidate, well, guess what? I've got a partner.
Talonflame Glimmore.
On the field as we see James's lead.
Dossi Anihilape.
Talonflame. So saving something a little bit for later.
Ahí tendría que haber llevado tóxico quizá, pero tampoco lleva nada para recuperarse, era imposible.
You know, it wound up being that James had a lot of focus on Wolf's Dondozo, but it was Sylveon who kind of carried that first game, and now a Pokemon with a type.
¿Qué están eligiendo?
But this Pokemon can't protect, so James can't use the same strategy he did at the beginning of the first game.
No, it has to be very smart.
¿A qué te refieres, Yes?
Right away, being switched in for the Glimmora, the Talonflame protected once again. So back to what you were saying in game number 1, find out what this is getting locked into. The Dondozo protects, and of course the Annihilate. Going to go really fast with this Choice Scarf. It's just going to final count.
No.
That is going to land right on the Amoonguss, and that is not going to be.
O sea, obviamente tira sacrificio, mete un bombazo, entra Tatsugiri o
and swaps, basically does that amount of damage to the opposing Pokemon.
¿Va a meter al Sylveon?
Not there in this one, falling short by a meager amount of health, and he's given up the Annihilate for free here.
Va a meter al Sylveon para baitear.
One thing keep in mind, you know, Amoonguss always says the regenerator ability can get out of battle, at least get to a sort of reasonable amount of health. It is nice to get that damage down where Amoonguss is annoying for this team, but you know, Sylveon now going to at some point have to deal with like Glimmora.
Claro, claro, en el siguiente turno ahora le tira Quick Attack a la Mongoose.
We've already seen 3 Pokemon that resist fairy type attacks, so simply James like, I'm not going to lose to that Pokemon twice. This time it's probably going to have to be Dondozo. I think it's fairly likely that the Pokemon we have not seen on James' side of the field is that Hydreigon, which would check the Dondozo.
No, pero Samongoose está muerto, más no lo han avisado. O sea, es que ya para qué, para que entre después en otro turno, en plan, nada, al final terminó decidiendo otro cambio, ¿no? Mira, al final dejó la Mongoose, ¿eh?
It's going to be the attacks first, then the speed, then of course the defenses, just to make sure it takes hits even better. This is something that is going to be a bit of a mammoth to deal with, a bit of a problem, but it is going to be one of those terrestrial.
Porque le hicieron la contrapredict, sí. Vale, volador. Va a tirar pájaro osado entonces. Por favor, que no. Ay, le va a hacer otra vez la misma. Vale, polvo ira.
Talonflame is getting out of this turn pretty well. Talonflame will Brave Bird. Going into the Tatsugiri, not expecting that switch in again. Wolf's done this twice to him.
Se comió otra vez el. Se comió otra vez la. Es una estrategia muy fea, tío. Es una estrategia muy fea. Entran ganas de llevar Pokémon de ataque doble. Tío, todo el puto rato.
Dondozo is absolutely monstrous. It's setting itself up very nicely. Of course, it has access to the order up. And really
me siento estafado.
James doesn't have access to
es cool, muchas gracias por ese follow. Si estaba eligiendo equipo. No, o sea, a ver, estamos viendo el top de los regionales y cada uno tiene su team ya preparado. Pero si es el Mr. Estrategia asquerosa, sí, tonto. Mikey, ven aquí, ponte conmigo, bebé.
This is why players have chosen to switch the forms of their Tatsugiri instead of getting that attack boost, getting speed instead, because simply not being hit is often better than doing more damage.
Well, if he's serving it up, it goes towards the Hydreigon, it's returned to the kitchen of the Dondozo's mouth, and he's still.
Pero si ataca el Tatsugiri, ¿el ataque falla? Sí, Carto. O sea, es decir, a ver, te explico. El rollo es, tú tienes un Pokémon, cambias por el Tatsugiri, se activa la habilidad de comandar del Tatsugiri, se lo come el Dondozo. Entonces, Tatsugiri está, pero no está, porque está dentro del Dondozo. Por lo cual, la ubicación de al lado del Dondozo queda vacía y el ataque, al realizarlo ahí, no hay target. Por lo cual, la chocas. Es horrible, es horrible. Mañana me llega el Pokémon Escarlata. Perfecto, Yes. Dale duro y espero verte en los directos, ¿vale? Tanto en Twitch como en YouTube.
But it's staring down a pretty terrifying Dondozo. A mad amount of speed at this point after all the order.
Efectivamente, por eso no ha salido Sylveon.
Recovery here. I really don't know how James gets away from this Pokemon though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal where I think the
Mikey,
damage
ven,
from Brave Bird
muévete.
would have been close. I don't think
¿Qué
Quake
estás
would have got
mirando
it,
en el
but
pasillo?
if Dondozo can survive
¿Quieres que te traiga la comida
another
aquí?
turn here, it's very likely to pick up a knockout in whichever of these Pokemon it would like to. The Glamora can't protect, so if he wants to take care of that and then remove it for Sylveon, that's an option. Otherwise, I mean, these Brave Birds hurt, so it would be an option to take
Vale, va a ir.
1-2.
Con el pájaro osado creo que lo... A pesar de que... Le termina aguantando. Pero el Glimora no llega a atacar antes que él, ¿no? O sea, el único motivo por el que atacó el Talonflame es porque tenía, creo que, la vida completa y con la habilidad para tirar los ataques de prioridad de tipo volador, teniendo la vida full. Vale, Dondozo se va a la mierda. Se va a la mierda, El Talonflame da paniquillo,
Yeah, I mean, an important thing to keep in mind too is once again that Terrestrialization is kind of going to work against it here, where it lost its resistance to Hyper Voice, which could be really critical in this matchup. Where Dondozo kind of feigns a hero there, right? Where it needed to do a lot and it did. This Talonflame already very weakened, no longer as a resistance.
Ese fue el daño que recibió de recoil.
It's going to need something very
O
strange
sea,
to happen to
recibió la mitad de vida de daño de recoil. Agüita. Vale. Ok, está Glimora muerto, Lidragon muerto. Entonces no tiró el ataque con prioridad, ¿no, Kals? Eso es de otros ataques, vale.
This is going to be at some point a single target Hyper Voice. We'll see if it does get the knockout here. That's what it was fishing for earlier, so it doesn't quite get that. That takes a massive amount
Recoil
of so low. The life orb adding to it as well. Tatsugiri, I think it's going to get the knockout itself.
Viento hielo y se acabó.
So, Dondozo dies a hero, but Tatsugiri gets to wrap it up for Wolf here in top 32.
Y 2-1.
Tatsugiri win, where it dodges some attacks. It's kind of like pokes things at the end once they've already been weakened by
Ganador.
the famously small but cowardly Pokemon there.
Agüita, papá.
Doing it its own way.
Yeah, coming through right
Lucho, muchas gracias por ese follow en TikTok. Vale. Vamos a...
For the Tatsugiri, and guess what? He then gets to avoid the Brave Bird. What was interesting to me right there at the end, though,